I opened a letter and lost my name. $28,000. A loan I never asked for. But signed with my handwriting. At least, that's what they said. I'm Julia. I'm the oldest daughter. I pay my bills. I help when I can. And apparently, that makes me expendable. My parents didn't steal from a stranger. They used me. Then blamed me when it all came crashing down. Not one apology. Just, "You're stronger than your sister. You don't have kids. We thought you'd bounce back. Tell me, what would you have done?" Comment, justice. If you've ever been punished just for being the strong one. If your family betrayed you too. Leave a dot below. You're not alone. The morning after the letter, I woke up before my alarm. The apartment was quiet. Even the refrigerator had stopped humming. I sat in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it had all been a weird dream. But the envelope was still on the kitchen table, next to my favorite blue mug. Next to my carefully budgeted grocery list. I got up, made coffee, and stood by the window. Across the street, Mrs. Dorsey was watering her porch plants in a pink bathrobe. Same as every Thursday. Same as the past 5 years. That was my life. Steady. Predictable. No chaos. No mess. I work as a staff accountant for a mid-sized construction company in Portland. Not glamorous, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. Spreadsheets don't lie. Numbers either add up, or they don't. That morning, I logged in to check my credit score. The number had dropped by 142 points since last year. There were red flags all over the report. Delinquencies, late payments, collections. I scrolled. Numb. Then I saw the lender. Harrison Financial. The same name printed on the letter. I clicked. Dispute. But the system said I needed supporting documents. I didn't have anything. No contracts. No emails. No memory of ever touching a loan agreement from 2022. My hands were cold. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. The thing is, I've always been the one who did things right. I file taxes early. I keep receipts for 7 years. I help friends with their budgeting apps. I've never overdrafted. Never paid a bill late. Never let anyone down, except maybe myself, by trusting too easily. And now I was looking at my own name on something that felt like a crime scene. I picked up my phone, scrolled to, Mom. Paused. What was I even going to say? Did you use my identity for a 5-figure loan? No. Too direct. I tapped the name, hit call. Voicemail. Hey Mom. Just checking in. I got something weird in the mail yesterday. Can you call me when you get a chance? I hung up. Felt sick. And somehow unsurprised. Because when something went wrong in our family, it usually had one of 2 sources, my sister. Or the silence that always followed her. It wasn't always like this. There was a time, years ago, when I thought my family was just complicated. Not broken. Not toxic, just a little chaotic. You know, the kind of dysfunction that passes for normal when you're inside it. Growing up, I was the organizer. The one who packed the snacks for road trips. The one who reminded Dad about his blood pressure meds. Anna was the sparkly one. The one who cried and got her way. The one who forgot birthdays but always had a cute excuse. I used to think we were just playing roles. Turns out they liked me and mine a little too much. There was a Christmas. We must have been in high school. Mom bought Anna a leather jacket and me a planner. She said, "Because you're so responsible." I told her I liked it. I didn't. But I smiled. Because that's what the responsible one does. Anna started 3 businesses before she was 30. One of them involved dog treats shaped like celebrities. Another one was a crystal-infused water bottle subscription. None of them worked. But she always landed on her feet. Because someone always caught her. Usually our parents. Meanwhile, I worked overtime to pay off student loans I didn't even tell them I had. The contrast used to bother me, but I learned to live with it. Until the lunch last summer. Mom had texted me out of the blue. Let's grab lunch.
Just you and me.
I should have known something was up. We met at this trendy place downtown. She called it Julia's Treat, even though she was the one who invited me. Anna was already there when I arrived. Kale smoothie. Huge sunglasses. Talking about energy alignment. I remember setting down my bag and smiling tight. Mom dove straight in. So, Anna has this opportunity. Just a little art pop-up, but she needs a shipping address. Something stable. That word again. Stable. I took a sip of water. Waited. Anna leaned in. I was wondering if I could use your name. Just on the paperwork. Nothing official. Just for a few months. My fork paused mid-air. You want to use my name for a business? She laughed. No, just for the admin stuff. You're so good with forms. Mom chimed in. You've always been our helper. Helper. That word felt small. Like a ribbon used to wrap a trap. I said no. Calm. Firm. For once, I didn't explain. Didn't soften it. Anna blinked. Mom's smile thinned. Lunch ended early. And that was the start of the freeze out. After that lunch, everything shifted. No one said anything outright. There were no fights. No screaming matches. Just silence, the kind that hums in the background like a broken fridge. Low. Constant. Uncomfortable. Anna stopped texting. Mom forgot to invite me to Sunday dinner. Dad sent a weird email about family unity and how some people should think bigger than themselves. I let it go. At least, I told myself I did. I buried myself in work. Took long walks around my neighborhood. Reorganized my spice cabinet. Twice. By Thanksgiving, I had accepted the new distance. No confrontation. No repair. Just cold space, neatly folded. Until this week. Until that envelope. The thing is, when you've been the strong one your whole life, people assume you'll absorb the hit. Take the fall. Hold the weight. Because what's another burden on the girl who always survives? That afternoon, I sat on my couch with the letter in one hand and my laptop in the other. I searched every number on the document. Checked dates. Even looked up signs of identity fraud on a government site. Everything pointed in the same direction, and it all started the same week Anna launched her healing lifestyle brand. I clicked through her website. Muted colors. Photos of her holding incense on a beach. Then I clicked about. It listed her business as a female founded operation based in Oregon. Shipping and returns address my old apartment. My stomach flipped. I checked the site's registration. Public record. Business license filed under J. Monroe. That's me. Except I never signed anything. My mouth went dry. My hands started shaking. I opened the kitchen drawer where I keep old folders. Pulled out my tax copies from 2022. One of them had a scanned version of my signature. Next to a post-it note from Mom's. Keeping this for future paperwork. Hope that's okay. I hadn't thought twice at the time. Now I stared at it like a weapon. And then, as if the universe wanted to confirm everything, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Anna. Hey, weird question. Did you get something from the bank? Just ignore it for now. We're sorting it out. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just, ignore it? My throat tightened. I looked at the screen. At the signature. At the return address. Then I knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. When your name is used without your permission, how long can you stay quiet? The next morning, I didn't go into the office. I called in sick, which wasn't a lie. Not fever or flu, but the kind of sick that starts behind your ribs and spreads outward. My stomach was tight. My jaw ached from clenching, and every time I looked at my phone, I felt that low, grade dread. Like the kind you get when you know someone's lying to you. But they're still smiling. I made a second cup of coffee and sat down at my kitchen table. Again. Same chair. Same blue mug. Different world. I opened my laptop, went straight to the Oregon Secretary of State's Business Registry. I'd never used it before, but I knew what I was looking for. Typed in, J. Monroe Designs. Enter. There it was. Active business license, issued last year. Owner listed as Julia Monroe. Secondary contact A. Monroe. My full name. My sister's initial. The contact email didn't match mine, but the address was familiar. My old building, apartment 3B, my apartment. I sat there numb. I'd lived in that place for 3 years after college. Moved out 6 months before Anna started her business. I remember giving her the key. She said she needed a quiet space to reset. I didn't ask questions. I just handed it over. Like always. I clicked, View Documents. One file popped up, digital registration. At the bottom, my name. In script. The signature looked like mine. But it wasn't. The slant was wrong. The loop on the J, too neat. It was a copy. Someone had mimicked my handwriting. I grabbed a sheet of paper and wrote my name. Held it up beside the PDF, no match. But I knew it wasn't enough. I needed help, and there was only one person who might actually believe me. Ben. Ben was my coworker, unofficial IT guy, and one of the few people who ever asked, "Are you okay?" and waited for an actual answer. I texted him, "Can you talk?" Something weird came up. I think someone forged my signature. 3 dots. Then, phone or coffee. We met at the little cafe 2 blocks from the office. Ben was already there, laptop open, 2 Americanos on the table. He pushed one toward me without a word. I sat down. Hands cold, mind buzzing. He looked up, calm but serious. "Okay," he said. "Start from the top." I opened my bag and slid the letter across to him. Then the printed screenshot of the fake business license. Then the PDF with the signature. He took his time. Didn't interrupt. Didn't rush. Just read. When he finally looked up, his eyebrows were knit. "This is bad." "Yeah," I said, voice dry. "It's not just a mix-up?" He added. "Someone built this." He flipped his laptop around. Pulled up an image comparison tool. "I ran your real signature from a W-4 you signed last year," he said. Then pointed to the one on the document. "They used a vector trace, probably copied your scan, cleaned it up, adjusted the angle. See this curve here? It's too perfect. No human does that." My throat tightened. "So they faked it?" I said. He nodded. "And the address listed. Your old place. Lines up with the IP address that filed the license. I checked the DNS trail. It's all coming from the same account your sister uses for her Etsy store." I stared at him. "You're sure?" He hesitated. "I can't prove it beyond doubt, but I'd bet every password in my LastPass vault that she did this." I didn't answer, just stared at the little ring of condensation under my coffee cup. It wasn't just betrayal. It was architecture. Someone had built this lie carefully, brick by digital brick, and signed my name on the front door. Ben leaned back. "You should talk to a lawyer," he said gently. I shook my head. "Not yet. I just need to breathe." He nodded. I left the cafe with a folder full of screenshots and my stomach in knots. That evening, I called my mom again. No answer. I tried Dad, straight to voicemail. Then Anna. She picked up. "Hey," she said too brightly. I didn't even say hello. "Did you use my name to start your business?" A pause, a beat. Then. "What? No, why would I?" "Oh my God, Julia. Is this about the loan?" "That's, like, a misunderstanding." I didn't reply. Silence. She sighed. "You always take everything so seriously. It's not that big a deal." I hung up. Then I sat alone in my apartment. No answers, no family. Just evidence. And the hollow space where trust used to live. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, listening to it whir and click like it might fly off the mount. Every few minutes, I'd replay the call in my head. You always take everything so seriously. That one line looped like a splintered record. It wasn't the denial that stung. It was the tone. Like I was overreacting. Like I was difficult. For not wanting to be used. I thought about calling Mom again. Maybe she'd say something different. Maybe she didn't know the whole story. But deep down, I already knew the answer. She always knew. She just didn't want to admit it. The next morning, I got into work early. Too early. Ben passed by my desk with a quiet nod, but didn't stop. I appreciated that. It was like a silent agreement. Space, no questions. I opened my email. Typed, Harrison Financial. Sure enough, 2 emails sat in my spam folder. Both confirming missed payments. Both addressed to Julia Monroe. With the same fake signature embedded in the auto-generated statements. The paper trail was growing. But so was the silence from the people who created it. At lunch, I ate alone in the break room. Carol from HR popped in, poured tea, and glanced my way. You okay? I forced a smile. Yeah. Just tired. She nodded. But held her gaze an extra second, like she wasn't quite convinced. That made me uneasy. Did I look rattled? Was something showing? Later that afternoon, I checked my credit report again. 2 more inquiries had hit. Different lenders. That's when I realized. This might not be over. This might just be the beginning. I sat frozen. In the past 3 days I had lost my credit score, my legal signature, my peace. And now, maybe, my financial future. I looked around the office. People tapping keyboards. Answering phones. Planning vacations. And me. I was trying to prove I hadn't committed a crime I didn't know existed. With a signature I didn't write. On a loan I never touched. I opened my drawer and found the old photo. Me and Anna, ages 7 and 11, in matching Christmas pajamas. She had chocolate on her face. I had my arm around her shoulder. I stared at that picture until the edges blurred. That was the last time I thought we were on the same team. Now. I wasn't even sure we were in the same world. If your own family rewrites your identity, would you confront them? Or disappear before they erase more? I called a meeting. That's what it felt like. Not a conversation. Not a let's talk this out. A meeting. Cold, structured, undeniable. I sent the message on a Thursday morning. Group text me Mom, Dad, Anna. Need to talk. All of us. Saturday, 3 p.m. My place. No one replied. For a day and a half, my phone was silent. Then, late Friday night, Anna sent one line. Fine. Saturday came with heavy skies and a wind that rattled my windows. I vacuumed, wiped down counters, boiled water I didn't use. Nervous hands need chores. At 3:06 p.m., the knock came. Anna first. Then my parents, a step behind. They looked neutral. Like they were here for a favor, not an explanation. Anna plopped on the couch like she lived there. Mom asked if I had any tea. Dad stood by the window, hands in his jacket pockets. I stayed standing. I didn't offer drinks. Didn't fake a smile. I held up a manila folder and dropped it on the coffee table. That, I said, is everything. Anna didn't look. Mom glanced at it, then at me. What's all this? Proof, I said quietly. That you used my name, my signature, my credit. To open a business. Take out loans. And now it's coming back on me. No one spoke. Anna crossed her arms. So dramatic. Mom frowned. Julia, if this is about that silly loan. It's not silly, I snapped. My credit is trashed. I could lose my job. Dad finally said. We didn't think it'd affect you like this. I almost laughed. Like betrayal should come with a pain scale. Mild, moderate, Devastating. You used me, I said. Anna rolled her eyes. You always act like everything's life or death. It was just paperwork. I turned to Mom. You knew. You had to. That post-it on my tax folder. Hope that's okay. You kept my signature. Why? Her eyes darted away. Then settled. You've always been the responsible one? She said softly. And Anna, she just needed help. You don't understand how fragile she's been since the divorce. She always needs help, I said. And I always pay for it. Silence again. Like they were waiting for me to fix it one more time. But I was done. I looked at the three people in my living room and felt like a stranger in my own bloodline. There was no guilt in their eyes, just discomfort. Like I was making things awkward. Anna tapped her nails on the armrest. Mom pulled her cardigan tighter. Dad kept staring out the window like the rain had something more interesting to say. I said, "Do you even hear yourselves?" No one answered, so I asked again, this time quieter. Did any of you ever plan to tell me? Anna shrugged. We figured it wouldn't last long, just until I got funding. You used my name, I said. My credit. My address. You forged my signature. Mom spoke up. It wasn't forging. We had your signature already. From taxes, from old forms. It's not like we made it up. Something cracked in my chest. That's when the memory hit, sharp, vivid, like a thorn under skin. I was 23, just out of college. Mom had offered to help me file my taxes. We sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open, folders everywhere. I remember feeling proud. Like we were doing something grown up together. At one point, she smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'll scan everything for you. You never know when you'll need backup." I thanked her. Because I believed her. I didn't realize she was saving it not for me, but for when I'd become useful. Back in the present, I stared at her. You took that trust, I whispered, and you turned it into a weapon. Her mouth tightened. You're being unfair. I let out a breath, not a sigh. Just something to stop the pressure in my throat. No, I said. I'm being precise. Anna rolled her eyes again. I wanted to scream. Instead, I picked up the folder, pulled out the comparison sheet, and held it up. This is not my handwriting. Silence. Then Dad spoke. We thought it was safe. You're not like Anna. You've got a steady job. No kids. If something happened, you'd recover. That line. I didn't cry. Didn't flinch. Just stared at him. You decided my life was easier to lose. No one denied it. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't say the things I wanted to. About betrayal, about dignity, about how exhausting it is to always be the one who holds the line. I just stood there, folder in hand, looking at the three people I once trusted to raise me. You say I'm strong, I said slowly. A's, if that gives you permission to use me. Mom spoke first. We didn't mean for it to get this far. It's always that, I said. Until it does get this far. Anna shifted in her seat, looking suddenly small. Like if she folded into the couch deep enough, she might disappear. Dad took a step forward. Look, he said, voice low. We'll make it right. We'll fix it? How? I asked. Can you reverse my credit report? Can you erase the digital signature that links me to a business I didn't start? Can you give me back the version of myself that didn't flinch every time the phone rings? He didn't answer. No one did. I walked to the door. Opened it. You need to leave, I said. Julia. Mom started. No. If you won't take responsibility, you don't get access to me. Not my name. Not my credit. Not even my living room. Anna stood slowly. I didn't mean for this to hurt you, she said. You didn't mean for you to get caught, I replied. They walked out without protest. That hurt the most. Not the theft. Not the lies. The ease with which they left. Like I was the problem. Like silence was the solution. When the door clicked shut, I sat down on the floor, folder in my lap, breath shallow. I wasn't sad. Not exactly. It felt more like grief. The kind that doesn't scream. Just settles into your bones and changes the shape of who you are. I stayed there a long time, until the sun moved past the window and the living room turned gold, then gray. Then I picked up my phone and Googled consumer fraud attorney. Portland. I was done waiting for apologies. Would you expose the truth, no matter the cost to your family's name? The house felt different after they left. Like something had shifted in the air. Not just the quiet, but the weight of it. I walked past the spot where Anna had sat. There was an indent in the cushion. A single blonde hair clung to the fabric. I vacuumed it without thinking. Then I sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd sorted their mail for years. Paid bills when Dad was laid off, researched therapists for Anna after her second breakup. I used to think it made me dependable. Now, I wondered if it just made me easy. That night, I tried to sleep. I lay still, hands over my stomach, eyes on the ceiling. No dreams came. Just memories. There was a time when Anna and I shared a room. We used to whisper under the covers about what we'd do when we were grown. She wanted to paint murals in Paris. I wanted a porch swing and a checking account with no overdrafts. Funny how small my dreams had always been. Now even that seemed out of reach. The next morning, I opened my inbox and saw a message from HR. Subject: Annual Financial Re-Certification due Friday. My stomach dropped. Our company policy required all accounting employees to pass a personal credit check annually. It was part of our fraud prevention protocol, and mine was now a disaster. I walked to the break room, made tea I didn't drink, and stood staring out the window while it steeped. I could lose my job, my stability, everything I'd built. Because I trusted the wrong people, because I believed family meant safe. At lunch, I texted my mom. Not to make peace, just to ask if she had closed the business account. No reply. By 4 p.m., my hands were shaking again. I picked up my phone, almost called Anna, but stopped. There was no more asking, no more hoping, only moving forward, alone. After work, I sat in the car for 20 minutes before I could turn the key. The sky was bruised with clouds. A storm coming. It felt fitting. When I finally got home, the apartment was dark. Quiet. Too quiet. I dropped my keys in the bowl, toed off my shoes, and stood in the middle of my living room like a guest. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the cabinet where I kept old photos. Family trips, birthdays, graduations. I flipped through each one slowly, fingers trembling, and I realized I wasn't really in them. I mean, I was there, smiling, holding the camera, standing off to the side. But never the center, never the one held. Just holding everything together. I left the photos on the floor, stacked but unfiled, like I didn't know where I belonged anymore. The apartment smelled like silence. Not burnt toast, not lavender spray, just absence, of dinner, of voices, of warmth. I wandered into the kitchen, opened the fridge. Half a salad, 2 yogurts. Leftover chicken I didn't remember making. I closed the door. Didn't take anything. Instead, I sat on the edge of the couch. Turned on the TV. Didn't care what was playing. Just needed noise. A game show host was shouting vowels. Someone clapped. I stared at the screen without blinking. Then the tears came. Not loud. Not cinematic. Just a steady stream, like a faucet I forgot to tighten. It wasn't the loan, or the credit damage, or the job risk. It was the fact that no one came after me. They left my apartment. And not one of them looked back. That was the part I couldn't get past. My whole life I'd been the backup plan. The one who had it together. The one who'd understand. The one who'd never fall apart. But no one wondered if I was falling apart. I wrapped myself in a blanket, even though the room wasn't cold. Let the TV play. Let the tears run dry. At some point I got up, brushed my teeth, turned off the lights. But I didn't go to bed. I sat at the edge of the bathtub, hands in my lap, light humming overhead. The grout in the tiles was cracking. I stared at it like it held answers. Then I whispered, "I'm still here." It wasn't a declaration. More like a reminder. To myself. To the walls. I was still here. After everything. And if I was still here, then maybe. Maybe I could do more than survive. Maybe I could fight back. If you had nothing left to lose, what would you do with your name? I didn't tell anyone I was taking the day off. I just didn't show up. I turned off my work email, put my phone on silent, and sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and a pen that barely worked. Across the top, I wrote one word, ENOUH. Then I started listing everything I remembered. Dates, emails, phone calls. Even things I hadn't thought mattered. Like the name of the candle Anna left burning the day I gave her my apartment key. By the time I looked up, 2 hours had passed. I had 4 pages of notes. Somewhere between the second and third cup of coffee, I opened my laptop and searched aid. Consumer fraud lawyer near me. The first result had 4.9 stars and a photo of a woman in a red blazer who looked like she did not suffer fools. I clicked. Lopez and Chen Legal Services. Free consultation. I filled out the form, hit submit, and told myself to breathe. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Julia Monroe. Her voice was calm, clipped, like she could hold her ground in any storm. Yes. This is Donna Lopez. You submitted an inquiry? I nodded before I realized she couldn't see me. Yes. There's been identity misuse. Fraud. And I think it's my family. She didn't gasp. Didn't rush to sympathy. She just said, "Okay. Let's get to work." Dana was methodical. By the end of our 30-minute call, she'd already emailed me a list, documents to print, screenshots to export, dates to flag. She didn't overreact when I told her it was my own family. She didn't flinch when I said they'd used my name and signature. She just said, "Truth doesn't care who signed it. Only who should have." I liked her immediately. After we hung up, I started gathering everything. Old email threads, bank statements, the blurry PDF with my forged signature. I backed it all up on a USB drive, then again to a cloud folder labeled, "In case they lie." Around noon, I walked into the HR office. Carol looked up from her desk, surprised. "Julia." "Hey," I said quietly. "Do you have a minute?" She nodded and stood, gesturing toward the small glass, walled meeting room we usually used for birthday cards and awkward check-ins. I closed the door behind us. "I need to tell you something," I said. "It may affect my upcoming financial check." She sat down. Waited. So I told her. Not every detail, but enough. The forged documents. The fraudulent business account. The loan in my name. When I finished, she didn't speak right away. Then she said something I didn't expect. "My brother used my name to get a car once. I was 26. Took me 4 years to undo it." I blinked. "You're kidding?" She shook her head. "I'm not. Families can break you in ways strangers never could." I exhaled. "Thank you," I whispered. She nodded again. "Let's do this right. You'll submit your documents for the check. I'll flag it to upper admin and explain what's going on. You're not in trouble. But they'll need a heads up." A pause. Then, "You're not the only one." That sentence did something to me. I hadn't realized how alone I'd felt until someone else said, "Me too." That evening, I cleaned the apartment. Not like tidying. Not like wiping down counters or sorting mail. More like shedding. I boxed up photos. Unfollowed Anna on social media. Removed mom's number from emergency contacts. I didn't cry. I didn't hesitate. There was something calm about it. Precise. Like drawing a line in sand that wouldn't be stepped over again. After that, I sat at the kitchen table and opened a new notebook. On the first page, I wrote, "What I will no longer allow. Being spoken to like I'm overreacting. Being used because I'm quiet. Being responsible for other people's chaos. Being told I'm too strong to be hurt. Being erased." I stared at that last one, then underlined it. Twice. The next day, Dana called back. "I spoke with a contact at the State Business Bureau," she said. "I can file an affidavit to remove your name from the license. But I'll need a signed statement. And one more thing." "What?" I asked. "Proof that they knew it wasn't yours." I opened my drawer. Pulled out the post-it from Mom. Still stuck to the corner of my old tax file. "Will this do?" She paused, then laughed, low and short. "Oh yes. That'll do just fine." That night, I drank tea on the couch, the kind with no caffeine. Chamomile and vanilla. Soft and steady. I didn't check my phone. Didn't wonder if they'd reach out. Didn't care. This wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. Of my name. Of my peace. Of the version of me that existed before I was rewritten by people who claimed to love me. I looked around my apartment. Same couch. Same walls. But everything felt different. Because I felt different. For the first time in a long time. I wasn't cleaning up anyone else's mess. I was building something of my own. And I was ready. Would you choose justice, or walk away for good? I set the time. I chose the place, neutral ground. Bright lighting, plenty of witnesses, a quiet cafe across from the courthouse. Not their home. Not mine. I made the reservation under my name. My real name. The one they used without asking. Now they'd have to look me in the eye. I emailed Dana, meeting planned. Saturday, 11 a.m. You'll have the recording. Already arranged. She replied. She didn't say, "Good luck." She didn't need to. I wasn't walking into a storm. I was the storm now. I sent a group text. "Mom, Dad, Anna, we need to settle this. Saturday 11 a.m. Verlaine Cafe. Bring everything. Or bring nothing. But come." Anna replied first. "Why there?" I didn't answer. Dad replied with a thumbs up. Mom took 24 hours. Fine. But we won't be ambushed. I smiled at that. Ambush? They'd had years. This was the first time I brought a chair to the table. The night before the meeting, I printed everything. The business license, the forged signature, the comparison chart Ben made, the post-it, the emails, even the old family photo I'd left on the floor for a week. I placed it all in a slim black folder. Not thick. Not messy. Just enough to remind them I wasn't guessing. I knew. I didn't sleep much that night. Not from nerves. From clarity. It was a strange kind of peace. Knowing the worst had already happened. Now I just had to name it out loud. I arrived 10 minutes early. The cafe was half full. Quiet but not empty. Soft jazz played overhead. A woman in the corner typed on a laptop. A couple argued gently over whose turn it was to pick up groceries. The air smelled like burnt espresso and lemon cleaner. I chose the table by the window. Sunlight poured across the surface, catching the edge of my black folder like a spotlight. I ordered hot tea. When it arrived, I stirred it once, then set the spoon down. Let the steam rise. At exactly 11:10:02, I saw them crossing the street. Dad in his usual brown windbreaker. Mom in a beige cardigan she only wore to medical appointments. Anna in sunglasses too big for the clouds overhead. They entered in a line, like a procession. Anna sat first. Then Mom. Dad hovered before pulling out his chair. No one said hello. I let the silence breathe. Then, you all know why we're here. Anna took off her sunglasses, placed them gently on the table. Mom glanced at the folder. Her lips pressed tight. Dad reached for the menu. Reflexively, maybe. I didn't let him speak first. I've brought documentation, I said. All of it. Forged signatures, business license, IP trace, screenshots, and the note you left with my tax file. No one moved. I've also filed a formal affidavit through my attorney. The process has begun to remove my name legally. Anna's voice broke the silence. So, what do you want from us? I looked at her. I want acknowledgement. She blinked. I want it on record, I said. You used my name. You used my identity. You committed fraud. Mom leaned in. Julia, we came here in good faith. No, I said. You came here because I made it public. Because for the first time, you don't get to control the story. Dad tried to speak, but I held up my hand. There's no negotiation today, there's only truth. And documentation. I opened the folder, pulled out the comparison sheet, laid it flat between us. The room was still, even the jazz seemed to fade. I pointed to the loop on the J in my real signature, then to the forged one. Mom stared. Her eyes went glassy. Anna looked down. Dad reached for the tea that wasn't his and drank without noticing. I looked at all of them. I'm not here to beg. I'm not here to punish. I'm here because I have one life, one name, and I'm reclaiming both. No one touched the papers. Not Mom. Not Anna. Not even Dad, who once couldn't sit still if a page was tilted. They just sat there. Eyes avoiding. Fingers twitching. No one said sorry. I waited. Not for an apology. For the moment I knew would come. The moment they'd try to fold it all back in. Anna broke first. I was overwhelmed, she said quietly. You don't know how hard things have been. I tilted my head. You mean being an adult? She flinched. It wasn't supposed to hurt you, she added. I folded the papers slowly, lined them back into the folder. Not slamming. Just finished. Mom finally spoke. You're right, she said. This went too far. But even then, her voice wasn't cracked. It was measured. Like a closing argument. Dad reached into his jacket and placed an envelope on the table. Cash. I didn't touch it. I'm not here for hush money, I said. We thought it would help. He replied, eyes still low. You thought guilt could be bought in 50s. Anna grabbed her purse, the movement sharp. So what, Julia? You want us to grovel? Do you want to ruin us? I stood up, gathered my things, left the envelope untouched. I wanted you to see what you did, I said. That's it, she scoffed. Mom touched her arm to quiet her. But it didn't matter. They were already shrinking behind the noise of chairs scraping and silverware clinking. Already becoming background. As I turned to go, I paused at the edge of the table. Not for drama. For clarity. I'm not ruining anything, I said. I'm reclaiming it. Then I walked out. The light outside felt different. Not warm. Not cold. Just mine. I stepped onto the sidewalk, folder under my arm, and let the door close behind me without looking back. No one followed. And I didn't wait. Justice or revenge? Which would you call this? I didn't think the article would hit so fast. But it did. Tuesday morning, 2 days after the cafe meeting, I opened my inbox and saw the subject line, Alokal Oman Crs Nam Ein Famail Iden Tuai Freidai Kas. It wasn't dramatic, there were no photos. Just a headline, a short paragraph, and a quote from Dana. We're grateful the truth came forward before lasting damage was done. It's a reminder that even in close relationships, boundaries matter. The names weren't redacted. Anna, my mother. My father. There it was, in 12-point Times New Roman. I stared at the screen. Then read it again. Not out of disbelief. Just, Confirmation. They were no longer hiding behind my name. I walked to the window. The sky was overcast but steady. Oregon gray. My phone buzzed. 3 missed calls. 2 voicemails. All from numbers I didn't recognize. 1 text. From Ben. Saw the piece. Proud of you. That one, I replied to. Thanks. Not proud. Just breathing again. I stepped out for coffee, unsure if I'd feel different. The barista didn't stare. No one whispered. Life moved like it always did. But I knew. Somewhere, someone had clicked that headline. Read my name. Connected it to a last name that wasn't theirs, and paused. That was enough. By mid-afternoon, Carol called me into her office. She didn't smile. But she didn't look worried either. Legal cleared your financial recertification, she said, handing me the HR form. I held it for a beat too long. It's done, she nodded. No notes. You're officially off the watch list. A breath left my lungs I didn't realize I'd been holding. I don't know what to say. I whispered. Don't, she said. Just keep showing up like you always have. I thanked her. She didn't ask for details. She didn't need them. I returned to my desk. Logged into my spreadsheet. Let the numbers settle me. Because they always had. But this time, something was different. I wasn't cleaning up after anyone. I was building something clean. By Thursday, the calls started coming. Not from my parents. Not from Anna. But from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. A former neighbor. Even my old choir director from high school. They left long voicemails. Some stumbled through polite confusion. Others went straight to it. Just saw your name in that article. I had no idea. You didn't deserve that. Your sister always did get away with everything, huh? I didn't answer most of them, not out of spite. But because I didn't owe anyone a curated version of my pain. The silence was enough, it said. I know who I am now, and you'll have to catch up. By the weekend, Mom's Facebook page went dark. Anna's Etsy store disappeared. Dad removed his LinkedIn photo. All the places they'd once existed publicly faded. I didn't celebrate. But I didn't mourn it either. I knew what it meant. They didn't want to explain. They wanted to vanish. And, for the first time in my life, I let them. No chasing. No correcting. Just absence. Carol invited me to a lunch that Friday. Her treat. We sat by the window of a tiny Italian place 2 blocks from the office. She didn't talk about the article. She just asked what I planned to do next. I stared at the glass of iced tea in front of me, the condensation sliding down like it had somewhere to be. Honestly, I said, I don't know. For the first time in a long time, I don't have a fire to put out. She smiled, just a little. That's a good place to start. When the bill came, she paid it without asking. Consider it back. Pay for every time you cleaned up a mess that wasn't yours, she said. I laughed. Really laughed. And it didn't sound bitter. That night, I walked home slower than usual. Past a bookstore. Paused at a ceramic shop with little clay bowls in the window. It was the first time in weeks I looked at something and didn't think. Would Anna like this? Would Mom approve? I just thought, would this fit on my kitchen counter? That was new. Saturday morning, I did one final thing. I opened the drawer in the hallway. The one with the emergency contacts, old birthday cards, and folded takeout menus. I took out the sheet taped inside. I see, in case of emergency, 3 names, Dad, Mom, Anna. I crossed them out, 1 line each, not with rage, just finality. Then I typed a new contact list into my phone, my doctor, my HR manager, Ben. And at the very bottom, I added my own number. Because if something ever went wrong again, I trusted myself to answer. After that, I cleaned the apartment. Not because it was messy, but because I wanted every corner to breathe again. I lit a candle, lavender, not citrus. No associations. Just quiet. I brewed a cup of coffee, opened my window, and let the soft hum of the city fold into the silence inside me. And for the first time, I didn't feel hollow. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel small. I just felt here. Present. Still. Whole. I didn't know what Anna was doing. Didn't care if my mother had crafted a new story to explain it all. I'd spent my life absorbing the things they didn't want to carry. And now, I'd set them down. I no longer needed justice to be loud. It had arrived quietly, through documents, boundaries, and walking away. Around noon, I got a message from Ben. "You doing okay?" I replied, "Not okay. Better. Real." He sent back a thumbs up emoji. Simple, solid. That night, I sat on the couch, legs tucked under me, the same way I had before all of this began. But this time, the air felt lighter. Not because everything was fixed, but because I finally stopped fixing things that weren't mine. Would you have done the same? Or walked away without a word? 3 months later, I planted a rosemary bush outside my apartment. It wasn't big, wasn't dramatic, just a clay pot, a little soil, and something green that grew toward the sun, whether I looked at it or not. I watered it every morning. Not because I was building a garden, but because it was the first thing in years I took care of without anyone else depending on it. Life didn't change overnight, but it shifted, quietly. I started waking up before the alarm again. Not from anxiety, just readiness. I changed my route to work, passed a bakery instead of the gas station, bought fresh bread on Tuesdays. Just because it smelled good. I cleared my inbox of every saved email from my family, deleted voicemails I had played so many times they started to echo. And I created new rituals, Sunday walks, Friday dinners alone with music I picked, a book always half finished on the coffee table, never rushed, never for show. Ben and I grabbed lunch twice a month now. He didn't bring up Anna, or the article, or the envelope I once handed him with trembling fingers. He just talked about tech things and laughed too loud. It felt like air after a long swim. Sometimes, Carol would stop by my desk with a second cup of coffee, accidentally extra. I always accepted. I didn't see Anna again. Didn't expect to. Once, I passed someone who looked like her at the grocery store. Same walk. Same curl of hair. I turned down a different aisle. Not out of fear, just preference. Some choices don't need drama to be final. My credit score was still recovering. Dana said it might take a year to stabilize. Maybe longer. I didn't rush it. I paid each bill quietly, tracked each document, and every time I signed my name, I paused for half a second longer than I used to. Just enough to remember this is mine, and no one takes it from me again. One Sunday morning in early spring, I opened my window and let the light in. It filtered across the kitchen floor. Warm, yellow, quiet. The rosemary bush was leaning slightly to the left. Growing, I made a cup of Earl Grey. Added a splash of milk, sat on the windowsill with both hands wrapped around the mug. The street below was still. Just one dog walker. A jogger in a neon jacket. I checked my email. Half habit, half curiosity. One new message, no subject line, no signature. Just this: I don't expect you to reply. I just want you to know. I see it now. Everything. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. Not angry, not moved. Just steady. I didn't reply. Not because I couldn't. Because I didn't need to. That's what closure is. When silence doesn't sting. When peace isn't something you fight for. It's something you choose. Later that day, I called my bank to ask about opening a small business account. Not because I had a big idea. Just because I could. Because the name on the form would be mine. Because the signature would be mine. Because the future, whatever it held, would belong to me. I didn't want revenge. I didn't need apologies on paper. I just wanted to live in a world where I wasn't an afterthought in my own story. And now, I do. If you've ever had to rebuild your name, your life, from the ground up, share your story below. Where are you listening from? What legacy will you choose? The kitchen was quiet. But the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. Sometimes, justice is just choosing not to carry what was never yours. If you've ever had to reclaim your name, your peace, your worth, tell me below. You are not alone. Every ending can be a new beginning.